And welcome back to the special studio audience edition of Hannity tonight as we continue our discussion about the conservative movement with members of the African-American community. I want to draw your attention to something that was said last week by one of the so-called journalists over at NBC News. Let's take a look at this.
Things took a turn for the political yesterday when President Obama and his family attended an Easter service across Lafayette Park at St. John's Church. The pastor, Dr. Luis Leon, called out some on the religious right who he says are standing in the way of progress. Quote, "It drives me crazy when the captains of the religious right are always calling people back, for blacks to be back in the back of the bus, for women to be back in the kitchen, for gays to be in the closet, for immigrants to be on their side of the border." Now the response from Rush Limbaugh.
That's an interesting take, that the president inspires it. Inspires racism. It may well be the case. So Obama's presence inspires this guy to go all divisive, all racist, and start jamming on the Republicans for wanting blacks in the back of the bus and women back in the kitchen, when he can't name a single person who does. But the president of the United States, you may be right, may have inspired that in this preacher.
Well, actually, Rushbo, racism is the belief that one race, whites, should rule all others. Get your definition straight.
Somebody needs to buy this guy a dictionary. Joining me now to respond directly to Mr. Thrill Up His Leg, our very special studio audience of African-American conservatives. Your leg?
Yeah. Well, obviously, the notion that that whites have a monopoly on racism is ridiculous. You listen to some of the things that some of the most prominent black leaders in this country have made, from comments that they've made, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson,
white
leaders,
white
interloper, Jaime Town, Nation of Islam leader, comments about Jews and so forth. Obviously, no one race of people has a monopoly on racism. But I wanted to get back to something you said earlier about the name calling. I think it goes deeper than that. There's a need on the left to almost psychoanalyze black conservatives, put them on the couch. So in other words, Justice Scalia's views on affirmative action are simply wrong, but Clarence Thomas is a self-hating, self-loathing traitor to his race. I mean, there's a double standard there. And I think the reason you have that, and Dr. Carson alluded to this earlier, he said, when are they going to stop tearing me down and listen to my ideas? Well, if you can psychoanalyze someone, delegitimize them, you don't have to take on their ideas. They're operating outside of the realm of responsible debate, and that's what the left tries to do to black conservatives.
But this is why I say this, in every one of your lives, this is a profile in courage. Because courageous people never know they're courageous, right? Seriously.
That may be true, but what I think that we're missing here is that we actually do have a license to say a lot of things as black conservatives. I actually kind of disagree. I think that we're the ones speaking out saying, you're wrong on all these issues. And what really amazes me is that they would actually pick on Dr. Carson. It just shows you the level that they're willing to go, because this is a guy that gets to work on people's brain. When I talk about, hey, I'm not a brain surgeon, I'm not. He really is. You know what I mean? So it's really funny to me. But I want to go back to one of the comments that was made. Biden made a comment about going into the black sections of my town and helping black people with AIDS. You remember that? And black people were in the audience, and I remember Al Sharpton kind of going, did he really say that? First of all, did he need a visa to go visit the black sections of his town? The fact that he believes that there is a black section of his town shows you the level of racism that is inherent in the left, and people just dismiss these things, and so do
I agree with you.
So do the conservatives. We let them get away with this.
Let me ask one point that Rush was making here. To what extent I'm livid as a conservative when I'm called a racist, because it's not true. I'm a Christian. But I am livid at the characterization that if you're a conservative, you don't care about African Americans, you don't care about Latinos, because that is the antithesis of how I was raised, who I am, and the way I was born. But it's a narrative. Just like Obama will say, Republicans want dirty air and dirty water. They want kids with autism, Down syndrome.
The central point, Sean.
All right, go ahead.
The central point.
What is that?
With the left is what Dr. Carson and everybody in here represents is a threat to their sense of ownership. Liberals in total believe that they own black America, and anyone who dares stand up and say, especially during Black History Month, We're more than that 30-second blurb for McDonald's. McDonald's shoots Black History Month, and they show one little blurb of something great about us. They want you to focus on civil rights or anything that shows us as downtrodden. It gets so bad to the point where you literally, like as Starr has and I have, gotten death threats on college campuses from people who, first, not only are not black, but aren't American, because they feel like if you speak up, somebody else might hear
Let me
you.
follow up on your point. This is really important. Where is the left defending the attacks? Wait a minute. You're laughing at me. That's fine. It's my show. David Webb. Yeah.
We actually even have to peel it back for a moment. Put aside the word conservative. Put aside the word black. Go to the word power and add control to it. When you talk about what I call the liberal brain and that leftist brain, they require that you're an ally of convenience,
It'll
that
take
you're
a whole
a
lifetime
victim.
of Dr. Carson
Right,
figuring that out.
right. But you're a victim, and it's about power and control. So when you hear talk of education, and I talk about political education, understanding how your country works, how your community works, by narrowcasting what you believe and feeding you those messages, you are now controlled through lack of education. You're controlled because you have needs, and they control your needs. They give you literally, whether it's the government cheese to the tax return to whatever benefit, whatever entitlement, whatever program. Now let me tell you, this is, hang on, this is not limited, this is not limited to blacks, but it's even more felt in a community that they feel ownership of, and it's power and control, and it's when you break that, you threaten their existence.
All right, I'm going to go deeper into this because I want some answers. Why do you think, when we come back, 90% of the black vote goes to the Democratic Party? I want your thoughts on President Obama, the economy, black America. They are bearing the brunt of what I would say one of the worst economic downturns. Why isn't there more anger? We'll get into all of that as we continue. Coming up next, political figures are not the only black conservatives to come under fire. Even superstar athletes like Washington Redskins quarterback Robert Griffin III, they're not safe from these racially charged hatred and comments from some liberals. Straight ahead.
Is he a brother or is he a cornball brother?
What does that mean?
Yeah, explain that.
Well, he's not really. Okay, he's black, he kind of does the thing, but he's not really down with the cause.